Dr. Sarah Chun had seen many strange things during her 23 years as an emergency physician at Houston General Hospital. She had treated gunshot wounds, car accident victims, heart attacks, and every medical emergency imaginable. But nothing had prepared her for what walked through the emergency room doors on that cold Tuesday morning in March. The creature stood nearly 8 feet tall, its gray-blue skin glistening under the fluorescent lights. 4 arms hung at its sides, each ending in hands with 6 long, delicate fingers. Its head was oval-shaped with large, dark eyes that seemed to hold intelligence and something else bane. Behind the alien, 2 smaller versions of the same species supported a third between them. Green fluid dripped from wounds on the injured one's torso, pooling on the clean hospital floor. The smell was sharp and metallic, like copper pennies mixed with ozone. The emergency room fell silent. Nurses stopped in their tracks. Patients stared with open mouths. The security guard's hand moved instinctively toward his radio, then froze. Dr. Chun stepped forward. Her medical training kicked in, overriding her shock. The injured alien was bleeding, or at least losing some kind of bodily fluid. Whatever these beings were, one of them was hurt and needed help. "Bring him to Trauma Bay 3, she called out to her team. The nurses hesitated for a moment, then sprang into action. They had worked with Dr. Chun long enough to trust her judgment. The aliens carried their injured companion to the examination table. Dr. Chun approached slowly, her hands visible and non-threatening. She had no idea if these beings understood human gestures, but she hoped universal signs of medical care might translate. "I'm Dr. Chun," she said softly. "I want to help." The tallest alien looked at her with those dark eyes. When it spoke, the words came out in perfect, though accented, English. "You? Help? Even though we are different?" Dr. Chun nodded. "That's what doctors do." "We help anyone who's hurt?" The alien's expression changed. Something like surprise, or perhaps hope, flickered across its features. "I am called Keth. This is my offspring, Jeln. He was injured in our ship's landing." Dr. Chun examined the young alien's wounds. The green fluid was indeed blood, and the injuries looked like burns from some kind of energy discharge. The physiology was different from humans, but the basics seemed similar enough. She could work with this. "Nurse Martinez, get me a basic trauma kit. We'll start with cleaning the wounds and see what we can do about stopping the bleeding." Dr. Chun instructed Dot as she worked. More aliens began arriving at the hospital. Word had spread somehow, whether through their own communication methods or simple observation, that humans were willing to help them. Some came with injuries. Others seemed to be checking on the treatment their people were receiving. Dr. James Wilson, the hospital's chief of staff, arrived within an hour. He found Dr. Chun successfully treating her 4th alien patient of the day. The waiting room was now filled with a mix of humans and the tall, gray-blue visitors. "Sarah, what exactly is going on here?" Dr. Wilson asked, pulling her aside. "They're hurt, James. Some kind of ship crash, I think. Their physiology is different, but not so different that we can't help them." Dr. Wilson looked around nervously. "Have you called the CDC? The military? We don't know what kind of diseases they might carry or what protocols we're supposed to follow." "I called the CDC an hour ago. They're sending a team, but it won't be here until tomorrow. These people need help now. People, Sarah, they're aliens." Dr. Chun stopped what she was doing and looked at her colleague and friend. "James, look at them. Really look. That one over there has been holding his injured child for 3 hours, just like any human parent would. The tall one named Keth keeps asking if his son will be okay. They feel pain. They worry about their families. They're grateful for our help. How are they not people?" Dr. Wilson was quiet for a moment, watching the aliens in the waiting room. One of them was gently stroking the head of a smaller one who appeared to be sleeping. Another was pacing nervously while his companion was being treated. "You're right," he said finally. "But Sarah, we have no idea what we're dealing with here. Their blood could be toxic to us. We don't know their anatomy well enough to avoid making fatal mistakes, and—" He lowered his voice. "We don't know if they're friendly." As if summoned by his words, Keth approached them. The tall alien moved carefully, keeping his 4 hands visible. "Dr. Chun," he said formally, I must speak with you about something important. Of course, what is it? Keth looked around, then back at Dr. Chun. My people are not the only ones who have come to your world. Others arrived before us. They are not like us. They do not seek peace or medical aid. They view your species as we view the animals we hunt for food. Dr. Chun felt a chill run down her spine. What are you saying? The Zillari arrived 3 days before my people did. They are warriors, conquerors. They study species before they attack, learning weaknesses. They have been watching your hospitals, your medical facilities, because they know that is where they can learn about human biology most quickly. Dr. Wilson stepped closer. Are you saying they're planning to attack us? Yes. And by helping us, by treating our injured, you have made yourselves targets. The Zillari will see your kindness as weakness. They will mark your medical facilities, your healers, for elimination first. They know that a species that cannot care for its wounded cannot fight effectively. The implications hit Dr. Chun like a physical blow. By doing what came naturally helping injured beings, she and her colleagues had painted targets on themselves and their hospital. How long do we have? She asked. Perhaps days. Maybe less. The Zillari are not patient when they have decided to act. Dr. Wilson ran his hand through his hair. We need to contact the authorities, the military, someone. You can try, Keth said sadly. But your governments will not believe you quickly enough. And even if they do, they know nothing of how to fight the Zillari. My people do. We have been fighting them for generations. What do you suggest? Dr. Chun asked. Let us help you as you have helped us. Teach your medical people about Zillari physiology, their weaknesses. In return, we will help protect your healing places when they attack. Dr. Chun looked around the emergency room. Nurses continued treating alien patients while human patients waited their turns. Everyone was adapting, working together despite the massive differences between species. It was exactly what she had always believed medicine should be, healing without prejudice. James, she said to Dr. Wilson, call an emergency meeting of all department heads. Contact other hospitals in the area. If Keth is right, we need to prepare. Sarah, this is insane. We're doctors, not soldiers. No, but we're the people who keep everyone else alive to be soldiers. And if these Zillari target medical facilities first, then we're the front line whether we want to be or not. Over the next 6 hours, word spread through Houston's medical community. The initial response was skepticism, then fear, then a strange kind of determination that surprised everyone, including Dr. Chun herself. Dr. Margaret Torres from St. Luke's Hospital arrived at Houston General around midnight. She was known throughout the city as one of the toughest trauma surgeons in Texas. Chun, you've started something here, she said without preamble. Half the doctors in the city think you've lost your mind. The other half are asking what they can do to help. And which half are you in? Dr. Torres gestured toward the alien patients still being treated in the emergency room. I've been a doctor for 31 years. I've seen humans at their best and worst. These aliens have been here all day, and I haven't seen a single one complain about wait times, demand special treatment, or threaten to sue anybody. Either they're the most polite invaders in history, or they're exactly what they appear to be, people who need help. Dr. Chun smiled for the first time since the morning. So you'll help? Dr. Chun, if hostile aliens are really planning to attack our hospitals, then every doctor, nurse, and medical technician in the city is already involved whether they know it or not. The only question is whether we fight back or just become victims. By dawn, the situation had transformed. 12 hospitals across Houston had agreed to participate in what they were calling Medical Defense Initiative. Alien patients were being treated at all participating facilities, and Keth's people were sharing crucial information about Zillari physiology and tactics. Dr. Chen found herself at the center of something much larger than she had ever imagined. What had started as a simple medical emergency was becoming a collaboration between species, and possibly the difference between survival and extinction for both humans and Keth's people. She looked out the hospital window as the sun rose over Houston. Somewhere out there, the Zillari were planning their attack. But for the first time since Keth had explained the situation, Dr. Chun felt something other than fear. She felt ready. The hospitals of Houston had always saved lives. Now they were preparing to save two entire species. And despite the danger, despite the unknown challenges ahead, Dr. Chun knew they would do whatever it took. After all, that's what doctors do. Dr. Elena Vasquez had never expected her emergency medicine training to include lessons in alien anatomy, but here she was at 3 a.m., studying detailed diagrams of Zolari physiology while sipping her fifth cup of coffee. The conference room at Houston General had been transformed into a makeshift command center. Whiteboards covered the walls, filled with medical charts, tactical information, and communication protocols. Representatives from 15 hospitals sat around the table, along with Keth and 3 other members of his species. The Zolari cardiovascular system has 2 primary pumping organs, explained Thren, one of Keth's companions. Her English was less polished than Keth's, but her medical knowledge was extensive. They are located here and here. She pointed to spots on the diagram. And they are vulnerable to disruption by electrical charge or specific pressure points. Dr. Michael Roberts from Methodist Hospital raised his hand. When you say electrical charge, what kind of voltage are we talking about? Your medical defibrillators would be effective, but only at close range. The Zolari's natural electrical resistance is high, but the charge disrupts their nervous system temporarily. Dr. Chun looked up from her notes. How temporarily? Perhaps 30 seconds. Long enough to escape, not long enough for capture. That's not much time, muttered Dr. James Park from Memorial Hermann. Keth leaned forward. You must understand, the Zolari are not like your human conflicts. They do not seek to capture territory or resources in the way you might think. They hunt for sport and for food. To them, you are prey that happens to be intelligent enough to provide entertainment during the hunt. The room fell silent. Dr. Vasquez felt her stomach turn. She had joined this effort thinking they were dealing with a military invasion. Learning that they were actually dealing with what amounted to intergalactic hunters was somehow much worse. How many of them are there? Asked Dr. Jennifer Walsh from Texas Children's Hospital. Our long-range sensors detected 1 ship. Typically, a hunting party consists of 12 to 15 Zolari. Each one is approximately equivalent to what you might call a Special Forces soldier, but with advantages you cannot match. Dr. Chun set down her pen. What kind of advantages? Thren activated a small device, projecting a holographic image into the air above the table. The creature that appeared was humanoid, but wrong in every way that mattered. Its skin was dark green and seemed to shift and change texture. Its limbs were too long, its fingers ended in claws, and its face held an intelligence that felt predatory. Zolari can change their skin composition to become nearly invisible to most detection methods. They are approximately twice as strong as your strongest humans and 3 times as fast. Their natural lifespan is much longer than yours, so they have centuries of experience in hunting and combat. Jesus, whispered Dr. Roberts. However, Keth continued, they have weaknesses. They are overconfident. They do not work well together. Zolari prefer individual glory over team tactics. And they have never fought a species that uses what you call medicine as a weapon. Dr. Vasquez looked up. Medicine as a weapon? Consider what you do every day, Keth explained. You inject substances into bodies to change their function. You use electricity to restart hearts. You cut into flesh with precision to repair damage. You understand biology better than most species understand their own. The Zolari expect prey to run or fight with primitive weapons. They do not expect prey to attack their cardiovascular systems with defibrillators or inject them with substances that disrupt their nervous systems. The idea was starting to make sense to Dr. Vasquez. What kind of substances? Thren consulted her notes. Many of your human medications would have severe effects on Zolari physiology. High doses of your anesthetic propofol would cause paralysis. Your epinephrine would send their cardiovascular system into fatal overdrive. Your neuromuscular blocking agents would be extremely effective. Dr. Walsh leaned back in her chair. You're talking about using our medical knowledge to kill them. We're talking about using our medical knowledge to survive, Dr. Chun corrected firmly. If Keth is right, they're coming here to hunt us like animals. We can either be victims or we can fight back with every tool we have. But we're doctors, Dr. Walsh protested. First, do no harm. Do no harm to our patients, Dr. Park interjected. These Zilari aren't our patients. They're predators planning to kill our actual patients, our colleagues, our families. The debate continued for another hour, but Dr. Vasquez could see the consensus forming. They were doctors, but they were also human beings with loved ones to protect. If hostile aliens were really coming to hunt them, they would use every advantage they could find. By morning, the plan was taking shape. Each participating hospital would be equipped with modified medical equipment that could be weaponized if necessary. Security teams would be trained in Zilari physiology. Emergency protocols would include specific procedures for alien attack scenarios. Dr. Vasquez was assigned to lead the team at Harris Health Lyndon B. Johnson Hospital. As she drove home that morning to grab a few hours of sleep, she tried to process what her life had become in less than 24 hours yesterday. Her biggest concern had been the budget cuts affecting emergency services. Today, she was preparing to fight aliens with defibrillators and anesthetic drugs. Her phone rang as she pulled into her driveway. The caller ID showed Houston Methodist. Dr. Vasquez? This is Dr. Amanda Price. I wasn't at the meeting last night, but I heard what's happening. Dr. Price, if you're calling to tell me this is all insane, you're not the first. Actually, I'm calling to volunteer. I'm an anesthesiologist, and if what I heard about using our medications as weapons is true, you're going to need someone who really understands how they work. Dr. Vasquez felt a surge of hope. Can you be at Houston General by noon? I'll be there in an hour. And Dr. Vasquez? I'm bringing 3 other anesthesiologists with me. We figure if we're going to do this, we might as well do it right. The next 36 hours passed in a blur of preparation. Word spread through the medical community, and volunteers arrived from across the region. Doctors, nurses, technicians, and support staff all wanted to be involved. Dr. Vasquez found herself working with people she had never met, planning for a scenario that should have been science fiction. But as she watched her colleagues adapt and prepare, she began to understand something important about the human medical profession. They were not just healers. They were problem solvers. They were people who looked at impossible situations and found ways to make things work. They were accustomed to making life and death decisions under pressure. And they were absolutely not going to let some alien hunters turn their hospitals into slaughterhouses. On the second day, Keth approached Dr. Vasquez with troubling news. Our sensors have detected movement. The Zilari ship has left its hiding place behind your moon. They are approaching Earth. How long do we have? Perhaps 18 hours. They will want to observe your cities during your daylight hours before attacking. Dr. Vasquez nodded and activated the hospital's emergency communication system. This is Dr. Vasquez. Code Black is now in effect. All personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Throughout the hospital, staff members moved to their assigned positions. Medical equipment had been modified according to the plans they had developed. Emergency medications were prepared in specific dosages for Zilari physiology. Defibrillators had been adjusted for maximum electrical output. Dr. Price found Dr. Vasquez in the emergency department. Elena, I've got 20 syringes loaded with modified propofol and 15 with high-dose epinephrine. If these things are as vulnerable to our medications as Thren says, we'll be ready for them. Any word from the other hospitals? All 15 facilities are reporting ready status. Downtown Presbyterian even managed to rig up their MRI machine as some kind of electromagnetic weapon. I don't pretend to understand how that works, but their technical team seems confident. Dr. Vasquez looked around the emergency department. Her staff was nervous but determined. They had trained for this moment, but no amount of training could really prepare them for what was coming. At 11:47 p.m., the first attack began. It started at Texas Children's Hospital. The Zilari had apparently decided to begin with what they perceived as the most vulnerable target. They were wrong. Dr. Vasquez listened to the radio chatter from across the city as the battle unfolded. The pediatric hospital had been ready. When the first Zilari breached their perimeter, they encountered not terrified medical staff, but a carefully planned defense. "Zilari down in the West Wing," came Dr. Walsh's voice over the radio. Propofol injection to the cardiovascular cluster was effective. "Target is paralyzed but alive." "Two more in the main lobby," reported another voice. Defibrillator assault was successful. Targets retreating. The pattern continued throughout the night. The Zilari had expected easy prey and found themselves facing a coordinated defense unlike anything they had ever encountered. Human doctors were using their medical knowledge as a weapon, turning hospitals into fortresses. At 2:15 a.m., it was Dr. Vasquez's turn. The lights went out first. Emergency power kicked in a moment later, bathing the hospital in red light. Then the windows in the main lobby exploded inward. 3 Zilari dropped through the broken glass, their skin shifting and ch. 6 months later, Dr. Sarah Chun stood before the United Nations General Assembly, still finding it hard to believe that her decision to treat an injured alien had led to this moment. The assembly hall was packed with representatives from every nation on Earth, plus 12 different alien species that had made contact since the Houston incident. In the gallery, she could see her colleagues from Houston General, including Dr. Vasquez, Dr. Wilson, and many of the nurses and technicians who had volunteered for that first desperate defense. "The Universal Medical Accord," Dr. Chun began, reading from the document she had helped draft, "establishes the principle that medical aid shall be provided to any sentient being in need, regardless of species, origin, or political affiliation. Furthermore, it recognizes that medical facilities and personnel shall be considered neutral territory in any conflict, protected by all signatories." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Representatives from 47 nations rose in applause, joined by the alien delegations. But Dr. Chun knew that the real story wasn't happening here in this formal ceremony. It was happening in hospitals, clinics, and medical facilities across the galaxy. After her speech, Dr. Chun met with Ambassador Thren in a private conference room. The alien doctor had become one of humanity's closest allies and had been instrumental in establishing the accord. "Dr. Chun, I must tell you something that I could not say publicly," Thren began. "What happened in Houston has changed everything, not just for humans and my people, but for the entire galactic community." "How so?" "The Zilari were not the only hunting species. There are others, perhaps worse. But word has spread about what you call the Medical Defense Initiative. Species across the galaxy are requesting to establish medical exchanges with Earth. They want to learn your techniques, and they want to offer protection in return." Dr. Chun sat back in her chair. "Protection from what?" The Zilari were scouts. Their ship escaped and reported back to their homeworld. A full invasion fleet is being prepared, but it will not arrive for several years. However, they are not the greatest threat. A chill ran down Dr. Chun's spine. What could be worse than a species that hunts other species for sport? A species that hunts other species for survival. They are called the Devourers, and they consume not just flesh, but knowledge, culture, everything that makes a species unique. They have been moving through this galaxy for millennia, leaving empty worlds behind. How long do we have? Perhaps 5 years? But Dr. Chun, that is not why I wanted to speak with you privately. Thren paused, her expression becoming something Dr. Chun had learned to recognize as excitement. The galactic medical community has never seen anything like human medicine. Your approach to healing, your willingness to adapt and improvise, your ability to use medical knowledge in unexpected ways, it is unprecedented. I'm not sure I understand. Let me show you. Thren activated a holographic display. This is the Kepler Medical Station established 3 months ago. It is staffed by doctors from 17 different species, all working together using principles developed here on Earth. The image showed a massive space station, clearly designed for medical purposes. Ships from various species were docked at its ports, and the diversity of beings visible through the transparent sections was stunning. They are calling it the first truly universal hospital. And Dr. Chun, they want human doctors to help run it. Dr. Chen stared at the image. You're asking us to leave Earth? Not permanently. But the skills your medical community demonstrated in Houston are needed throughout the galaxy. Species that have been in conflict for generations are now working together in medical settings. Diseases that have plagued entire star systems are being cured through collaborative research. And the Devourers? That is the other reason we need human doctors in space. Your species has something unique, the ability to preserve and protect life even under the most extreme circumstances. If we can establish a network of medical facilities throughout the galaxy, staffed by humans and their alien allies, we can preserve the knowledge and cultures that the Devourers seek to consume. Dr. Chun thought about the events of the past 6 months. What had started as a simple emergency room visit had become a global phenomenon. Medical schools around the world were now teaching alien physiology alongside human anatomy. Hospitals had become centers of interspecies cooperation. And somehow, humanity had gone from being unknown in the galaxy to being seen as leaders in galactic medicine. How many human doctors are we talking about? She asked. Initially, perhaps 2,000. Eventually tens of thousands. And not just doctors, nurses, technicians, administrators, researchers. The galaxy needs every aspect of human medical expertise. 2,000 doctors. Dr. Chun thought about all the volunteers who had stepped forward during the Houston crisis. She thought about Dr. Vasquez organizing defenses while still treating patients. She thought about Dr. Price developing new applications for anesthetic drugs. She thought about Nurse Rodriguez bravely facing down alien warriors with nothing but a syringe and determination. I'll need to discuss this with my colleagues, she said finally. Of course. But Dr. Chun, I must tell you one more thing. The decision to help my people when we first arrived at your hospital, that single act of compassion has quite literally changed the fate of the galaxy. Species that were resigned to eventual extinction now have hope. Conflicts that seemed permanent are being resolved through medical cooperation. And Earth, which was completely unknown 6 months ago, is now seen as a beacon of healing and hope. That evening, Dr. Chun called an emergency meeting of the Medical Defense Initiative leadership. Representatives from 43 hospitals joined the video conference. Along with several government officials and military advisors, she laid out Thren's proposal and waited for the response. Dr. Vasquez was the first to speak. 2,000 doctors in space? Sarah, we barely have enough doctors on Earth as it is. But think about what we could learn, said Dr. Price over the video link. Alien medical techniques, new ways of treating diseases, technologies we can't even imagine. The advances we could bring back to Earth would revolutionize medicine. Dr. Wilson, who had been promoted to Regional Medical Coordinator after the Houston incident, raised a practical concern. What about the Devourers? If we send our best doctors into space, and these creatures really are coming to Earth, won't we be weakening our own defenses? Actually, said a new voice, that's exactly why we need to do this. Dr. Chun looked up to see Admiral Patricia Hayes, the newly appointed head of Earth's Department of Alien Relations. Entering the conference room, Admiral Hayes, I didn't know you were joining us. Dr. Chun, what I'm about to tell you is classified, but you need to know. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected massive ship formations moving in our direction. The Zellari invasion fleet Thren mentioned is real, and it's larger than we initially thought. But there's also something else out there. Something much bigger. The room fell silent. The Devourers. Dr. Chun asked. We think so. Our best estimate is that we have between 3 and 7 years before they arrive. But here's the thing, if we can establish the medical network Thren described, we won't just be saving alien cultures. We'll be creating a galaxy-wide alliance dedicated to preserving life and knowledge. Dr. Vasquez leaned forward. You're talking about turning medical facilities into centers of resistance. Exactly. The Devourers have never faced organized resistance on this scale. They attack isolated species, one at a time. But if we can connect the entire galaxy through medical cooperation, they'll be facing something they've never encountered before unified opposition. The debate continued for hours. But Dr. Chen could see the consensus forming. It was the same decision-making process that had led them to volunteer for the Houston defense. When faced with an impossible situation, medical professionals looked for ways to save lives. And if saving lives meant going to space, then that's what they would do. Dr. Marcus Webb from Baylor College of Medicine raised his hand. If we're really going to do this, we need to start training people immediately. Alien physiology, space medicine, zero-gravity surgical procedures, there's a lot to learn. Already working on it, said Dr. Chun. Thren's people have provided detailed curricula, and NASA has offered training facilities. We can have the first volunteers ready to deploy within 6 months. Volunteers? Asked Dr. Vasquez. No one's being ordered to go, Dr. Chun clarified. But based on what happened in Houston, I don't think we'll have trouble finding people willing to serve. She was right. When the call went out for volunteers for the Galactic Medical Initiative, applications flooded in from around the world. Doctors, nurses, technicians, and support staff all wanted to be part of what was being called the greatest medical mission in human history. Dr. Chung found herself selected as the first director of human medical operations for the Kepler station. As she prepared for departure, she reflected on how much had changed since that morning when Keth and his injured son had walked into her emergency room. She had made a simple decision to help someone who was hurt. That decision had led to humanity's introduction to the galactic community, the development of revolutionary medical techniques, and now the creation of a galaxy-wide network dedicated to preserving life and